This adventure begins, like many before it, with a couple of strangers accepting a job at the local tavern. The job was simple: deliver a cart filled with mining supplies to Barthen's Provisions in the town of Phandalin. Easy, right? Well, the man with the coin is Gundren Rockseeker, a dwarf with big dreams and secretive motive. He was accompanied by a human fighter named Sildar Hallwinter. Sildar was a gentlemanly knight and greeted the party with proper decorum when the party met him. The first to arrive at the tavern was Yoon Stonehill. She's a wood elf with a chip on her shoulder and a longbow strapped to her back. She originally hails from Phandalin and was keen on returning there after hearing worrying reports of bandits who have taken over the town. Next to join the escort mission was Dustin, a halfling with twigs in his curly hair, a staff in his hand and a sword at his hip. This young druid was secluded in the wilds for a while and wished to return to civilization to see what has changed since his exile. A towering high elf with rippling muscles and a big fuck-off sword strapped to his back entered the tavern. This was also Maddie's nickname for the blade. Maddie had seen some shit and kept his bloodlust in check for the most part. However, once fighting needs to get done, he would gladly make the enemy gaze upon their own intestines before watching the light fade from their eyes. Aghanim Inari was a man of few words and heavy build. Donning chainmail, a longsword, and a shield, he swore an oath to an ancient order and wishes to root out evil wherever it may lay. Luke, the half-elf, came strolling in next. 2 scimitars rest upon his belt, and his cocky smile could make any lady swoon. His mysterious background follows him like a shade, but most wouldn't realize it due to his rather obnoxious personality. Last to join the group was Kyrene Odari. This halfling and her trusty sword deal with her problems using her fists. Sometimes kicks are involved too. Hailing from the Sun Soul Monastery, she carries the light of Lathander wherever she walks, shining as bright as the Dawn Lord. Gundren seemed thrilled with the collection of misfits he's gathered in the city of Neverwinter. He informs them that he and his guard Sildar will head out ahead of them and prepare for their arrival, and with that he was off. After a few hours, the party set off down the high road, and 2 days later turned east onto the Tribor Trail. In the afternoon of the 3rd day, they came upon something peculiar. Up ahead were 2 dead horses, black arrows piercing their skin like a reverse porcupine. Everyone immediately came to the same conclusion: ambush. Yoon quickly scrambled upon Aghanim's shoulders, looking out over the scene before them, but whatever had struck those horses had disappeared. Maddie, Aghanim, and Luke decided to investigate the nearby bushes for any suspicious activity that may pertain to the dead horses. It was then that a rustling of leaves made them realize, a fraction too late, that the ambushes were still there. Goblins, those nasty tiny little shits, were upon the party. Black arrows flew from bushes, finding their mark in a couple of the heroes. Aghanim swung his sword with little effect, but Luke, using his crossbow, expertly sniped one from a distance. Kyrene decided to stay at the wagon to protect it while Yoon tried balancing herself on the horses, unfortunately losing her footing and falling into the dirt. Dustin thought about blasting the goblins apart with a devastating thunder wave spell, but thought better of it and hid between Luke and Maddie. Maddie cut through those little goblins as if dicing a tomato. After the battle was over, Dustin investigated the horses. He found an empty map case and determined that the horses were killed by goblins, a truly revolutionary realization. Yoon also recognized the horses as Gundren and Sildar's horses. Aghanim found a hidden path behind shrubbery but decided to bandage his wounds, while Dustin and Yoon scouted the route towards where the goblins allegedly came from. After about an hour or so, they come upon a cave in the nearby hillside. Yoon snuck up towards the cave entrance and saw that it was guarded by 2 goblins. The little shits thought they were hidden, but fortunately they didn't notice the sneaky elf and were arguing amongst themselves. As they headed back, Luke was impatiently waiting for their return. He furiously tapped his foot and was about to scold them for taking so long, but Yoon just ignored him and Dustin shrugged. A quick chat about their plan of action led everyone to believe they should investigate this cave. Gundren and Sildar may be inside, and how are they going to get paid if their boss was kidnapped, or worse, dead? Approaching the cave, everyone kept quiet, but Dustin, being mildly impatient, walked around the thicket where the goblin guards were hiding and was immediately shot by an arrow. He retaliated by a deafening boom as Thunderwave went out, destroying one of the goblins utterly, while the other one was sliced up by Maddie. It was at this point that Maddie earned himself the moniker Goblin Bane. Yoon, Dustin and Luke noticed that there is a bridge further inside the cave, and a couple of wolves chained to a stalagmite in the first room to the right. The wolves weren't able to get to the party, so they devised a plan. Maddie was to throw some goblin meat for the wolves to chow on, while Kyrene explored the chimney at the back of the wolf pen. This went well. Kyrene managed to climb up the chimney and saw a room. Inside there were two goblins guarding the door, a wolf and a big bugbear. It appears Dustin's little big spell outside has put the cave on high alert. Kyrene, thinking her party might come by here eventually, decided to stay put. They didn't come. They actually saw her disappear up the chimney, shrugged, and went on their merry way deeper into the cave. Yoon spotted a path across the stream that led to higher ground. It was around this time Luke spotted a goblin watching them from the rope bridge above. He took a shot at the goblin, but it disappeared into the darkness. Yoon started climbing up to higher ground and the platform started crumbling. Luckily she was quite nimble and she surfed the rubble back down. Not discouraged by this, however, she instead opted to shoot an arrow with a rope attached up to the platform above. It sunk into the stone, but she was doubtful about how strong it may be and asked Aghanim for a boost. At the same time, Luke spotted that goddamn goblin again. He took another shot, missed, and the goblin disappeared once more. It wasn't long afterwards when Maddie, Luke and Dustin heard the rumblings of water surge down towards them. Maddie quickly jumped to safety, Luke grabbed hold of a stone, and Dustin, the poor lad, got swept away and was lying unconscious outside the cave. Maddie rushed to get him. Aghanim used his divine healing touch to heal some of Dustin's wounds, while Yoon climbed up her arrow-strung rope successfully. Unfortunately, what the party didn't know was the goblins have heard the massive thunderwave earlier that day by Dustin's excellently planned execution of the two goblins. To make matters worse, Yoon never scouted up there and was just climbing up blind. She got shot by a metric piss-ton of arrows. Against all odds, she dodged most of them and jumped into cover. Aghanim got ready to climb up, but it was Luke who parkoured his way up there, only to suffer the same fate as Yoon. However, he wasn't as lucky and fell unconscious. Yoon reached down to pull Luke into cover and got shot, going down beside him. Aghanim was about to climb up once more, however Maddie Goblin Bane moved past him and was getting ready to kick some goblin ass. He rushed in, killing two of them, and entered into a bloodlust-fueled rage. Finally, Aghanim got to the top and saw both Yoon and Luke unconscious. Vowing to avenge them, he went in and sadly failed to hit the goblins before falling unconscious in Luke's arms. Could this be the start of something more? Eventually, Maddie and Dustin took care of most of the goblins and found out that they were keeping Sildar, Gundren's bodyguard, captive. Dustin healed up Luke's wounds, and the three of them stashed their friends' bodies with Sildar's, and decided now would be a good time to go search for Kyrene, who lost her grip in the chimney and fell back into the wolf's den. The wolves, having had a bit of goblin meat, are now ready for more, and would you look at that, a halfling just fell into their den. Just before Kyrene sprang into action, Dustin, Maddie and Luke showed up and asked where she'd been. Seemingly unconcerned by the bloodthirsty wolves that are around them, Kyrene started telling them about the big bugbear and his wolf, and the goblins that are guarding the chamber up above. The group got to work killing the wolves, who were basically just being annoying by now. Kyrene punched a few in the nose while Dustin strangled one with a magical vine, and Maddie chucked a few javelins at them. The party collectively decided to gather up their unconscious friends and go back to the cart to rest up. They took Soldar along, but for some strange reason Luke wanted to kill the man. They made camp that night and tended to Yoon and Aghanim's wounds. Maddie spotted a green dragon flying in the northwestern direction and got excited about this. Jury's out about that one for now. Soldar wakes up the next morning and explains to the party that he and his boss Gundren got captured and dragged to the cave. Apparently, the goblins took them by surprise. Kyrene suggests that Soldar should stay behind with the cart while they go clear out the cave, but Luke was a bit reluctant to agree to this. He doesn't trust Soldar. However, everyone mentioned that Soldar has common motives and is also employed by Gundren. This, of course, didn't dissuade Luke from threatening to break Soldar's kneecaps if he betrays them. Soldar, quite frightened by the crazy half-elf, said that he wouldn't dare. Thus, the party returned to the cave, now renewed in strength and ready to take on what comes next. They snuck back into the cave. Dustin, Luke, and Yoon got up ahead of everyone to scout out ahead, while Aghanim kept a rear guard in case, due to his diminished sight in the darkness. Luke snapped a goblin's neck, Yoon sniped one, and Dustin vine-whipped another before Maddie and Kyrene charged in, killing goblins left and right. Then the party heard a roar of the big bugbear, larger than even Maddie himself. It declared its name as Clarg, and he shall crush the puny adventurers. His wolf accompanied him, and he charged at Maddie, Kyrene, and Luke. Kyrene and Maddie managed to dodge out of the way of the bugbear's morning star. The wolf, however, bit into Luke's leg, yanked him to the ground, and as Luke fell to the ground, his head hit the floor, knocking him unconscious. Meanwhile, Yoon was sniping at those pesky goblins at the back, and Aghanim finally joins in the fight, standing over Luke's body, protecting it. However, Clark saw a new victim, and in one massive swing of his morning star, knocked Aghanim unconscious on top of Luke for the second time in 24 hours. How romantic! Dustin, with a twinkle in his eye, saw an opportunity. He told everyone to get down as he conjured up a new thunderwave. It absolutely blew apart the wolf and knocked Clark on his ass about 10 feet away. Maddie rushed in, and in one fine stroke of his big fuck-off sword, he cut the bugbear in two. Kyrene rushed in and captured the last remaining goblin. The goblin gave up instantly as he saw his boss blown back by the thunderous energy, and then swiftly split in two by the angry elf. Kyrene had a fantastic idea. She can have her own private slave. The goblin, named Job, renamed Piglet, would be her servant and can carry any treasures they find. The possibilities are endless. Eventually, Job will succumb to Stockholm Syndrome, and they'll be best friends forever. Dustin killed Piglet. He didn't even have time to adjust to his new life. While this was going on, Maddie pulled out 3 golden teeth from Clark's mouth. Yoon discovered some coins and 2 health potions and a valuable statuette in the form of a jade frog. The rest of Clark's room was filled with supplies for a company called the Lion Shield Costa, marked with a blue shield and silver lion. Yoon insisted that they take this back to her hometown of Phandalin, for it has a Lion Shield Costa there. When Luke learnt of this, once he was conscious and actually allowed to have an opinion, he grumbled at the thought. He wanted to sell it and take the profits for himself. However, the rest of the party agreed to take the supplies back to Phandalin instead. Thus, the rest of the day, the party loaded the cart with supplies and set out towards the small frontier town of Phandalin. Who knows what dangers will happen upon the group of misfits next? Will they be able to deliver the supplies to Barthen's provisions? Where is Gundren? What's the deal with Soldar? Will Maddie kill more goblins? Will Luke and Aghanim finally confess their feelings for each other? Find out next time.